You're listening to the Lou Stokes Podcast. Real and inspiring conversations with individuals from all over the world, sharing their insights on sustainability, fashion, conscious consumerism, and empowerment. Be inspired to take action and be the change you want to see in the world. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Lou Stokes Podcast. Today I have Cynthia Power with me on the podcast. Thank you, Cynthia, for coming on. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So, Cynthia, why don't you tell us a bit about what you do? I know you're an expert in resale and you help brands implement resale and reuse programs into their business models. But I'd love to hear exactly what that entails and a bit of your background.
Sure, yeah. I think my background is actually important to understanding what I do. So, straight out of college, I worked at Eileen Fisher, women's clothing brand, for about 15 years. And the last 6 of those years, I was managing their take back and resale program, which is, I think a fairly kind of pioneering program in this fashion circular economy. And really the company was I had a lot of foresight to take back everything that they've ever made. So they'll accept anything that with an Eileen Fisher tag from their customers for their take back program. And so we had this kind of beautiful challenge of figuring out what to do with everything. And so there's a very, developed resale program. They have their own resale stores. They have their own resale website. They sell in their full price stores. But then there was also the challenge of what to do with everything that was not in, good enough condition to be resold. And so that created a whole lot of innovation, different innovation projects around, remanufacturing, repair, all kinds of reuse, recycling. And so I spent many years kind of in a very hands-on manner doing all different types of, circular economy, fashion circular economy projects. And so that was really, the main experience that I'm leveraging in my job now. Right after working at Eileen Fisher, I worked at Recurate, which is a resale software company. So worked with many brands who have launched resale in the past couple of years. But what I'm doing now with my business, which is called Multi-Volte, which means many times, I am working with brands, principally brands and retailers, helping them navigate and operate within the fashion circular economy. So if they want to start any type of reuse program, a type of resale program, create a strategy around it, how to select a vendor, how to really set it up for success. Those are all the types of conversations and projects that I'm having with brands, and kind of anywhere along that kind of new supply chain, whether it's resale, which kind of starts up front, or if it's, they want to create a recycling program and figure out how to get product back from their customers just to recycle it. That would also be something that I'm helping them do. So that's what I'm up to now.
That's amazing. I love it. And so important. So just to backtrack a little bit, when you were at Eileen Fisher, you obviously I think you said you went in as an intern straight after college? Or I went
in as a marketing assistant.
Okay, and so your progression to work in sustainability was just moving through the company. Was it something you considered before?
So I had actually started a little thrift store in college. I'd always been a thrifter and kind of vintage fan, and I started a thrift store in college just kind of for fun. And then I went into Eileen Fisher. Mostly I was interested in the company's kind of feminist values. And then sustainability was kind of right there, kind of in your face all the time. And so it was something that made a lot of sense to me and I got very excited about. I had the great fortune of being Eileen's personal assistant for many years. And so I got to kind of be in her world very kind of intimately for a long time and understand kind of how she thinks about her company and her business and business at large, and how to be, I think a really good company in a sea of, I don't know, it's a tough industry. So I would say, that was my progression at the company. And then I really feel like my role at Renew, which is the name of their resale program, was a kind of right place, right time kind of thing, where I had been Eileen's assistant for many years, and I decided, it was time for me to kind of move on from that role, but it was not clear what exactly I would do. And there was this need then created at the time for somebody to manage their resale program. So I was lucky enough to get that job and then really grew with it over many years.
Amazing. And so you mentioned that you love vintage and you enjoy thrifting. Tell us a bit about your own personal sustainable fashion journey or sustainability journey.
Sure. Well, I would say that ever since I was in high school, I love vintage. I think because I just loved mostly really amazing dresses and prints, and it was something that I was able to find. I grew up in Seattle, and they have great kind of vintage thrifting culture. And so it's not that I didn't shop new. I also was obsessed with Abercrombie and Fitch, but I loved vintage dresses especially.
Yeah.
And so that just kind of started. I'm not exactly sure why, but that kind of started at a young age for me. And I would say that, I've gone through many kind of progressions of what I buy and what types of things I'm attracted to. And in college, certainly I bought a lot of, fast fashion and Forever 21 and all of that. But I would say, as I've gotten older and just appreciate, as I kind of grow to just appreciate quality more and more, I find that, unless you have a ton of money, it's much easier to get very high quality things when they're used. And then for me, I also personally just feel better about them if I'm buying them used. And so the shirt I'm wearing actually was my newest Poshmark purchase. It's a Stephen Allen shirt. I love Stephen Allen. And I just I love finding, good deals, resale deals of really great brands on used marketplaces.
Yeah, you can really find some amazing gems, can't you?
Yes, I'm the treasure hunter.
Yeah, it's so cool. I really enjoy surfing the net, and it's also kind of you start to have a different relationship with clothes when you're shopping in a different way. Like you're not just going to the fast fashion brands and just aimlessly buying whatever that most of the town are wearing. Yeah. Whereas when you're properly thrifting or surfing the net on some resale stores or even in the high street or wherever they are, it's I don't know, there's just a different connection when you find something, isn't there? It's just oh wow, I love this, and not everyone's going to have it either. And
that's
there's
a different value. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's a different value. We value it more, I think, than just the something out of us.
I think that use people are attracted to used clothing for different reasons, and I think some people just really want it for the savings, and that it's not so much about that kind of treasure hunt special item for them. But me personally, and it sounds like you, and I think a lot of people are really interested in it for that the uniqueness that it brings. And personally, I hate it if I walk by somebody on the street wearing what I'm wearing. I just I would rather die. It really bothers me. So that also, I feel like vintage and thrifting really allows to just have something that you can pretty much guarantee nobody else is going to be wearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, you're obviously an expert in fashion resale. And why do you think it's really important, not just for businesses, but also for consumers to be, really adopting resale?
Well, I mean, obviously for businesses, I think they're primarily interacting with their customers. So I think it's partially their responsibility, but also, an opportunity for them to really engage with their customers in kind of this new evolving way. But I think for consumers, the behavior change of society, of the kind of everyday person like you or myself is, I think, I think there's two most important changes that we could see or that could make the biggest differences. One would be consumer behavior, which is what we're talking about how individuals purchase their stuff. The other one is policy, in my opinion. And I think policy is it's a whole other ball of wax and very complex and I think it's much easier as an individual consumer to go, okay, I'm going to really vote with my dollars and I'm going to buy resale, I'm going to buy used, or I'm going to have this repaired, or I'm going to have it altered so that I can still use it, or whatever it may be. I just think that, one of my old friends just reached out to me and said, I haven't bought anything new for 8 years. And this is a guy, I knew him in Paris. I was actually shocked to hear him say that because I wouldn't have pegged him for that person. I was just like so excited to hear that. If this random guy that, I knew forever ago, like isn't buying new clothes anymore ever, like that's a great sign. So
Yeah, that is a great sign. And 8 years, I mean, that's someone that's very committed.
yeah.
Right? Because like with is it Fashion Revolution? They do the 90 days of not buying, the challenge of not buying
Oh, I
anything
haven't
new.
heard about that.
I think it was Remake. It's one of them, or maybe it's both of them. They do like this
Mm-hmm.
challenge every year where they get people on board to not purchase anything new during 90 days.
It's a big challenge.
Mm. Yes, because I think it's so ingrained in us as well,
Yeah.
like that newness, that kind, those endorphins that we get when we buy something new. Although I get it when I buy something, I find a treasure, which I'm guessing you do as well. That
I do. I feel like there's been, I think that sense of getting something new can be from something used, and I think that that's good. I think we've heard recently, some, I would say like naysayers saying, well, what if people are just replacing their new shopping habits with used shopping habits? And I'm like, so what? That's great. I think we've got like, let's let that happen for years. And then we might need to like get people to shift again. But if everybody were to start buying majority used product, we'd be in an extremely different place. So I'm all for it. If you want that like little endorphin hit, but you can get it from a used product, like do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Apart from the fact there's so many clothes on the planet.
Yeah.
So we don't really need to be producing anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know where that I read the other day. I don't know if it says like enough clothes for 6 years for the whole of the planet. Yeah, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. But we're still producing, massively overproducing.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
like you said, I think we can look at if people are going to take their like consumer habits away from fast fashion or just consuming brand new and going into use, then why not? As long as they love it and they're going to wear it, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So when brands come to you about resale, like what are their main concerns when creating, a resale program or a repair service? Are they kind of very apprehensive and scared almost to get on this circular model?
I've heard a few different perspectives lately. I would say, I spoke with one brand who they know they want to get it into resale, but they feel like it's such a quickly changing marketplace and kind of vendor marketplace that they want to wait a little bit and see if the dust settles a little bit. That was interesting. And they might do a pilot temporarily to kind of test the waters without committing. I think, but they're absolutely interested in resale for their brand. It's more of just the, wanting to pick a vendor that's going to be around for a while.
Right.
And then I think, I've talked to other brands who are very committed to, I think the higher quality the product, the more the brand can really be committed to, the circularity of their product. And so I'm working with one brand that's very committed to their just wanting to be accountable for everything that they've made. And they see that opportunity for resale and for repair and take back and everything. And I mean, that's the dream. That's great. When you're working with a brand that's that committed, then they're doing it, I think, for like really the right reasons. And then any benefits they get out of it are kind of like gravy or icing or, whatever your expression, however you say it from wherever you're from. Huh?
A cherry on the cake.
Yeah. I think, the brands that I see, I spoke with a brand recently who I would say I feel like they're primarily acting out of guilt, which I think is a little bit, I mean, it's okay. I think anything that drives you towards wanting to work, have a circular program, a resale program, or a reuse program is good, because ultimately I think that it's really beneficial for companies to be learning how to operate these types of programs and seeing what works for them. But I think operating from a place of guilt is a really hard place to just start from. You want to start with energy and like excitement So that makes me a little bit sad. I'm hoping I can bring some like excitement and energy to them to feel like, to feel like proud and excited about it. I think that there's a concern for sure, just generally about cannibalization, although I would say I think it's really unfounded. We haven't seen a bunch of data about how resale cannibalizes full price.
Right.
I think that it's just more of a natural kind of knee-jerk fear of like, well, if I'm selling I have this $100 product that I'm trying to sell new, and if I offer them a $75 product, aren't they all going to choose the $75 product? And I think the answer to that is no. I haven't seen any evidence of cannibalization, honestly. I think having resale actually brand and the perceived quality of your product, which will keep people coming back and like keep your customers more loyal. It also brings in new customers, which I think, every brand is interested in. So, so I don't see that cannibalization happening, but I think that there's a fear out there. So, I try to work with businesses that if they have that fear, kind of working with them on what are the ways that we can look at measuring success here that is going to be meaningful to you for your business. And how do you think about customer acquisition, and what kind of revenue do you want to see, and what are the margins on these products, and those types of conversations, so that they feel really confident in the data that they're getting back, and that it's not kind of this amorphous, unknown kind of mysterious thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And also you have the great example of Eileen Fisher as well. If you're working with a brand similar, it's like obviously they're very successful with their resale, and they're taking it back, and so it's like a great example. Like, did that affect their sales with their new collections, or would you say it boosted them?
I would say with them, I don't think, at least when I was there, it was hard. There wasn't enough testing to really put any strong data behind it. I think there was also, Renew. The Renew program is operated, or when I was there, was operated very independently from the larger company, which generally I think is a best practice to like start a circular program kind of off to the side, or give it some space if you can, so that it's not held to all the same standards as regular product or regular sales expectations. And so Renew was operated very independently when I was there, which was great. But I think there's kind of this, right now it feels like an eternal question, both for, I think, Eileen Fisher and other large brands or other very successful resale programs, is how much do you incorporate, marketing to your entire customer base? And can you kind of, I would say, abandon that fear of cannibalization? Like, if you've worked so hard to create a resale program, then why wouldn't you want to tell all of your customers about it? And if you're very committed to sustainability, then like I said, I've seen no data that cannibalization happens, but at the same time, wouldn't it be great if some of your customers actually chose to buy used instead of new? And if you are a truly sustainable company, don't you want them to start making those choices? And also, I always say, like, if you're not providing it for them, your customers are doing it somewhere else anyways. So you might as well have them do it with you. I'm a big believer that if you have a brand, that you want your customer to come back and participate with you in every way possible, and not just these ways, but not these ways. I think that's what a brand is like, you represent something, and you want your customers to kind of be that long-term loyal customer, and they come to you to buy something new, they come to you to resell that item, they come to you to buy something used, they come to you to repair it, and like they become this lifelong customer. Like, to me, that's just a win-win-win all around. So I think inviting customers into resale, like, you have to expect you're inviting them to do something else. So like, their behavior should change a little bit, but I don't see any negative consequences for companies at all.
Yeah, in fact, almost I think of it as like, well, actually, you're opening like more scope for consumers as well. As in, you're offering them, they can buy something new, but also they can take it back and they can resell it, and then they can repair it. And it's like, oh, actually, this company or this brand is offering me like, a wide range of services. And the fact that people are becoming more conscious and aware of, the climate change, and are wanting to change their consuming habits and wanting to find brands and actually buying from brands and renting and resale because they're concerned. And so I think it's like a good way of giving consumers something new. And even if they were apprehensive about it at first, because some people are apprehensive about wearing secondhand clothes or even repaired, like there is stigma around those things. But I think the more brands do it, the more consumers are going to get more excited about it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And like, it's interesting because I teach sustainable fashion at a university, and what we found really surprising, or I find really surprising, they always research different luxury brands, and most of these brands are not really telling the world or not telling people what they're doing. You have to actually Google to find out, oh yeah, so Louis Vuitton's doing this, or Yves Saint Laurent, or whatever. It's quite interesting because I'm like, why aren't they talking about it? Why is it that we have to go and find it?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's interesting. Like in my experience, brands have a hard time communicating, figuring out how to talk about sustainability in a way that feels easy for customers. So I know I've seen brands work really hard to communicate sustainability and have it kind of fall flat with their customers in terms of like how they chose to communicate it. So I do feel like marketing it and figuring out the right way to tell the story is half the battle. I mean, I think doing the work is really important, and that's great. It's most important, but then telling your customers about it and trying to get them to care, or even tapping into something they already care about and aren't aware that you are also doing, I think is really important. And I mean, in terms of how we talk about, communicating circular economy programs, resale, reuse, repair, I think it's really important to tie it into all of your regular marketing. You figure out how to, if you're selling your new favorite dress, then you need to, at the bottom of that email, you need to talk about how it's going to maintain its resale value and how you'll repair it if they break the zipper, or like it needs to be all together. I think a lot of times companies will separate that marketing message and then they struggle to find a place for it. And then, it doesn't drive as many sales as they want. So I think really incorporating it into this more holistic message about whatever product you're looking for, in my opinion, is really the way to go.
Yeah, making it, like you said, whole and not just like one post about it or whatever, or a small section on the website. No, it needs to actually be integrated into everything.
Yes.
Yeah, also I think that way as well, what's interesting is like if someone's going to buy something new and they see resale, like, resale price or whatever, also will help them to think, oh, actually, if I buy this, I can then resell it as well. So it's like getting them to think more circular.
Absolutely.
Which is interesting. And like also talking about like how it was made and, how much water it used and things like that. Just that is like a way of educating consumers without actually having to do a lot, because you're just giving them information. They're like, oh, okay, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think smart companies are using resale as a lever to help customers feel more confident to buy full price. Right. And, an expensive handbag company will say, if you buy this for $500, it will retain at least 70% of its value over the next 3 years. So you're actually, you're not really spending that $500. I've heard that from some teenagers and like younger people where they're trying to get their parents to buy them expensive things. And they say, well, it's not really $200. It's actually $100 because I'm going to resell it in 2 years for $100. So you're only, and I think like that. I also get excited when I hear kids kind of thinking like that, because it's showing a shift in like the way that consumers are thinking about their stuff, where it's not like I'm buying this to have it forever, but I'm going to have it and use it for as long as it feels good to me, and then I'm going to resell it. And it's not that you don't feel like you're owning it forever. You're kind of using it for a while. Yeah,
absolutely. It's like usership instead of ownership, isn't it? But also what's interesting as well is like the rental apps. So there's this one in the UK called, well, actually it's in America now, in New York, By Rotation. You've probably seen it.
Yeah, I've been wanting to talk to her for a while. She's cool.
Yeah, totally. She's amazing. And I love the fact that like people are like, yeah, this dress cost me, I don't know, let's say 800 euros or whatever, pounds. And then they've rented it however many times and they've made their investment back plus.
Right.
And they're making a profit off their wardrobes. That's
Yeah.
also like an interesting concept as well of like, well, if I have a Chanel bag, I can rent it to appear in this app and they can have it for a week and I get $100. And it's like,
Right.
in the end, it's going to pay for itself. So it's just, like you said, it's just this shift. I don't know if my parents would do things like that. You know, I don't see my mum renting clothes or I think she might go buy real, you know, she might be into secondhand stuff.
Yeah.
But I can really see like the younger generations really getting into, you know, the renting, the reselling, and having a completely different concept of an item of clothing or accessories.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm helping my dad. I help him buy used clothes all the time. And the other thing that's kind of fun is like you can discover new brands when you're buying used, you know, where like he's found his new favorite shirt maker. And we go on Poshmark like every 6 months and we buy a bunch of them. And then he's all set and he's excited because he feels like he got a deal. He's totally in love with his brand now, but he like can't do it himself. He needs me to help him. So it's fun. I'm happy to do it. It makes me happy that I've got my dad buying used clothes.
Yeah, and that he's happy with it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's how he wants to shop now. If he needs something, he texts me. I think I need a wool vest. Can you send me some pictures?
Oh, I love it. It's adorable.
Yeah.
It's adorable. Yeah, and it's so true. Now we have so much access to all of this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love like kind of going through my wardrobe and being like, yeah, this, I don't wear it. I'm going to sell it and just putting it on the app. Like, I just think it's just such a great way to, you know, get rid of things that you don't use or want, or maybe you wore them loads or whatever and you liked it at a certain point in your life and now you're like, no, actually it's not really my thing anymore, it's not my style. And then you know, sell it to someone else who's absolutely in love with it. I think it's great. It's fulfilling when you sell it. And also like that, I'm the same when I find something on like the apps, I'm like, oh yes, maybe I saw it new a few years back and I was like, oh, I really like that, I never bought it. And then you find it's like fantastic.
Yeah. I have a bag. I'm over there. I have a huge bag of stuff that I'm like, okay, I got to spend an afternoon soon. I have to get out, like get myself all set up, take all the pictures, post them all. And then, cause it takes, I feel like that's one of the things I'm kind of enjoying kind of evolve is like making it easier and easier for consumers to sell their products. You know, I think there's some, vendors and kind of software starting where you get like paid out immediately for things before they sell, or just ways that I think it makes it easier for sellers, because I do think that can be a very difficult experience if you have something for sale and it hasn't sold and it kind of feels, you know, like a little discouraging. I do also think that like the more stuff that you have for sale, the better your chances are of selling. That's kind of been my observation of just as somebody that I struggle to find the time and the patience to really spend time doing that. But I see my friends do it and they're like, they do it once a season and they put, you know, 15 things up and then they sell through half of them. And like, then they have all their money to spend. And I'm kind of like, I've got to figure that out. I just have been giving my things away for years. And I'm finally like, all right, I need to resell them actually.
Yeah. Do it.
I'm going to.
So how do you vision the fashion of the future? How do you see the fashion industry, or what would you like to see?
Yeah, I'll answer what I would like to see. So I think, I think that I would like to see, and some of this exists, but I just want to see it kind of grow and kind of take over everybody's shopping habits of like this real search for quality. And at any kind of point in a product's life cycle. So for me, it's kind of like this is a Stephen Allen shirt. It's a great brand. I got it on Poshmark. I would also buy them new. I don't have the money to do that right now, so I'm thrilled to buy them used. But if also at a certain point, if I stain it or it gets a hole in it or something, I know that I'm going to repair it because I love it. And I would buy something that had a beautiful repair on it as well. Like I personally love repair. And, I think I just want to see consumers really thinking about, am I buying something high quality? And that continuation and growth of what we were just talking about, of that mindset of like, get something better that's going to retain its value for longer. And, so I think seeing companies continuing to invest in quality clothing, I would really like to see a lot of small companies that are making really responsible product continue to get more customers and be successful. And I don't think success has to be, like as big as H&M or Target or anybody like that. I think having a $5 million, $10 million revenue business is like, it's amazing. I mean, and I think there's so many businesses out there that I know I've never heard of. I'm always looking at like new responsible businesses and like have never heard of them, but they clearly have a customer base. So I'm personally more excited for this kind of like, not hyper local, but like more localized kind of shopping habits and just looking for quality, being interested in all kind of phases of from, new to used to second time used to repaired to, to all of that. I think that having people's appetites really continue to grow for that product is what I'm excited about. That's what I want personally. And I really want to see all of the companies that are making really high quality product continue to just find success, whether that's luxury and Louis Vuitton or whether that's, Stephen Allen or others, smaller, and then even smaller brands that are making really amazing product and being really responsible about who's making their product and what how much are they getting paid and what, are they using natural materials and are they recyclable and all of those questions. I think the higher quality you shop, the easier it is to get them into a circular kind of program. So that's what I would love to see.
Amazing. Cynthia, thank you so much for coming on. Great chatting to you. Would you like to tell our listeners where they can find you online?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So you can go on my website, which is multivolte.com. I have a weekly newsletter that I write about all things circular, which you can sign up for on multivolte.com. And I have been known to post many videos on LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn, check me out. And just, reach out. I love meeting people. I love talking with students. I love talking with brands. I love talking with people like you, Lou, like anybody in this space that's curious. My goal is to just get as many people to move towards circular economy as possible. That's what I'm excited about. That's why I'm doing this work. Like that's what I find exciting and inspiring and like how I want to spend my time. So just reach out and I would love to, meet any of you out there listening that are curious.
Cynthia, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's been fun.
You're welcome.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please subscribe to the Lou Stokes podcast. Rate and review in the Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're tuning in from. I'd be so grateful. Also, check out the show notes to learn more about my guests and learn more about me on my website, www.loustokes.com. Until next time, be inspired, take action, and be the change you want to see in the world.